that
and
spike
now
curveball
they've
that he
brought him
throws.
up to speed with that. So that's
Yeah.
and
And
it's good to see the
Yeah, and
kid from
with,
the Bronx and his
with him,
hometown.
repeatable delivery and the whole thing. I mean, he's finally gotten to a place with just. I mean, 6'8". He's a big guy,
right?
And it takes a while sometimes for bigger guys to get the rotation and the mechanics down. He's in that place now.
Graham Lloyd, remember Graham? Graham Lloyd,
yeah,
big
but
tall
I don't know
guy.
if Lloyd threw like as hard
No,
as
not even close.
No,
yeah,
he's a big guy.
But
there's
and if you
lots of
remember
big guys.
Betances last year when they called him up, there was some long home runs hit off of him.
Yeah, and that's I mean, you
knew he had the tools, but what could he do with them?
Yeah, and now we know, and does that make him a closer yet? Maybe not, but that's why you give Robertson the qualifying offer, and then if Betances does it again next year, then fine, you can make Betances the closer at a discounted rate, and this way you can save the money that you're paying Robertson and invest it elsewhere.
So I think if you had the Mets starting pitching with the Yankee bullpen, I think that'd be the great pitching staff.
That'd
be very good.
Sneak Tanaka in there somewhere, and you'd be all set. Then I wouldn't have any problems with that.
I just see the Mets blowing the trade. Giving something away they think that maybe isn't worth it to get some.
They're going to have to trade at least one of those pitchers to get a hitter, and that's like what I was saying before about the Cubs. The Cubs, all they're going to do is keep promoting guys, and for whatever reason they decided.
Bring on the Cubs.
They had guys. The guy that they brought up, Jorge Soler, Cuban outfielder, been tearing it up ever since he came up. He's batting something like 380. Great player, big arm, power bat. Javier Baez is a guy who they brought up, a shortstop, power bat. They got Addison Russell in the trade for Samardzija from the A's, another shortstop with a power bat. The best prospect they have is one of the best prospects in baseball, like one of the top two, is a third baseman by the name of Chris Bryant, who is going to be an MVP candidate within 3 years.
Well, one thing, Tim, you're bringing up, you talk about Chicago, the Cubs. They're last place in the Central.
Doesn't matter.
I'm just saying, you talk about all these great players, but right now they're in last place. So.
Where are the Mets?
Where
are the Mets with all these great prospects? I mean,
the Cubs obviously bit the bullet this
third.
year, trading everybody away.
I hate to say this, the Mets, are a half game behind Atlanta. They could actually come in second place in the East, which they would say, "Wow, look, we came in second place
and be under 500."
And be under 500, yeah.
Yes.
Right now they're at 487.
I mean, right now the Mets would take what are they? 76. The Mets would take 80 wins right now instead of 90.
They would love that.
They would love that. But they're still under 500 with 80 wins.
Yeah, but I just hope that the whole thing with the Mets, they have to get in their mind they have to spend some money. And
but where do you spend it? We've had this conversation before. Where do you spend? There are no bats.
They're not going to.
There are no bats.
I agree.
The only bat who is going to be available in the offseason who's worth anything is Nelson Cruz.
Do they have anyone in their farm system?
Hitters?
Yeah.
Nobody ready.
Well, maybe
Brandon Nimmo is an outfielder they drafted who's had kind of a breakout year in the minor leagues. I can't remember the guys who they drafted this year, but he was a college player, but he's still 2 years away. I mean, the Mets system is heavy on pitching. They also have a catcher, a catching prospect, but with Darno there, what good is that?
That's
I mean,
you're
gonna have to trade one of them. I don't think they're gonna have both of them splitting
all
time.
All their power next year is going to come from Duda and Wright. I think that's going to be
hopefully
right shoulder is healthy, and Granderson's going to have to do something. But Granderson basically needs to rethink his approach at the plate because he got into bad habits with the Yankees.
Yeah, because when you're playing in Yankee Stadium, he's
trying
going for the right field
jack
porch all
everything,
the time. So, in fact, I think they kind of alluded to that they're going to take him aside and probably make him more of a like a spray hitter if that's possible.
It's certainly possible. He used to do. He used to be like
either
that,
or
the Yankees.
they are talking about bringing the fences in again at Citi Field
again.
Yeah, more. I don't think it's the fences. I think it's the way the ballpark was built.
Jet streams and stuff like that play into it. But I mean,
they've done tests where they literally they watch the wind on these computers.
But if you look at things, though,
Daniel Murphy's saying 295. That's a pretty.
Daniel Murphy is a good hitter, but if you look at Granderson, I mean, he's hitting 225. Bringing the fences in isn't going to help that.
No,
it's
not.
You need to turn him into a more productive 260 or 270 hitter.
The way they dissect everything these days, I'm sure they have a chart of 20 balls that were hit to right field that might have gone over the fence had they brought the fence.
Oh yeah,
5
without a doubt they have that. I mean,
Yeah.
that's all. They have that for every hitter.
You know what I think? I think it's a Shake Shack being in center field. It's just too many people out there, and the wind is not going.
Too many distractions.
Too many distractions. Anyway, we're going to take a break right now.
Oh, there's David Bowie again.
There's David Bowie again. We play the same song. It's just easier. Anyway, you're listening to From the Press Box. If you have a call, comment, give us a call, 516-572-7440.
Nassau Community College, in conjunction with the Nassau University Medical Center, invite you to participate in their 20th annual Back to School Blood Drive, the first of the academic year, Tuesday, September 23rd from 9 a.m. until 1:30 p.m. in the multipurpose room of Nassau Community College's College Center building. Blood donors must be at least 17 years old and in good health. Donors should come with some personal identification, and although refreshments will be served, we ask that all donors eat before donating. The process usually takes less than an hour, and all members of the community are invited to donate. You can make an appointment to give blood today. Call 516-572-7883. That's 516-572-7883. Or just stop by on September 23rd and tell them WHPC sent you. If you love 80s music, listen up. From rock to pop to new wave and everything in between, it's Essential 80s. Friday mornings at 12 a.m. and Saturday mornings at 9. I'm Jamie Trovato, and I'm your host for 2 full hours of commercial-free 80s music that you know and love on 90.3 FM WHPC, the radio voice of Nassau Community College.
We're back here on From the Press Box. I'm Rob Leonard. Joining me, as always, is
Tim Leonard.
And our special co-host today is Neil Macchio. So how you doing, Neil? Enjoying it?
Pretty good.
When was the last time you were
Not
on the
bad.
air?
Last time I was on the air
well,
was,
music radio was...
No, I was on WLNG.
Oh, okay.
In July or something.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool.
Did an on-air audition for them. That was interesting.
With the big echo chamber they have at LNG?
Yes, still have it.
And 14,000
They're
jingles.
in stereo now, I think, though.
Yes, when Paul Sidney died, they said, Paul, the reason you stay in mono is so you can go, an extra 12 feet or something.
Right. Well, it's funny. I was looking around for cart machines, and I couldn't find any.
Yeah.
Well, they actually do have one stuffed under the console there, so that something comes up, like one of the spots that they've been playing for 40 years. They can still play that.
I remember going out there with Big Ed when he was working out there, and it just flooded. It was right after, not Gloria, which one in '91, whichever one that was, the big storm. And, the whole place was flooded. Because it's right on, for those who don't know, WLNG is right on the water, literally 5 feet from the water.
It was probably the day after I was out there, because I remember driving in my car, and, it's, that side road that comes around towards the station. And the water, I saw the water pretty high, but it was dark. I couldn't see, and I'm driving, and all of a sudden the road's getting lower and lower, and the water's getting higher and higher. I thought I was going to stall out, but somehow I made it.
Well, when you have your thing right on the water,
that can
it's only going to lead to bad things. Anyway, if you have a comment or a question, 516-572-7440. We're talking sports as we do every Monday, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. And so far, we've talked about the Mets. We've talked about the Yankees.
We haven't talked about the Beatles yet.
No, the Beatles Fridays 8 to 11.
Oh, that's
right
a different
here.
show.
That's a different show I do.
No,
but thank you for the plug. We've talked about the Mets. We've talked about the Yankees. We've talked about the Giants.
We haven't talked about the Jets, actually.
The Jets are 1-1. They play the Bears tonight. What do we look forward to in this game? We should have called JP.
You should have.
We could have called JP.
That really would have been a reunion.
Yeah.
Get him on the phone. No, he's probably.
I don't know.
He's probably interviewing Rex Ryan right now.
Yeah.
The Jets are one of those teams that you never know who's going to show up. What type of team's going to show up that given day.
I agree. I think it's funny when Rex first showed up, it was like this is like the greatest thing to watch and the greatest team to watch, probably because of him. And then as the Jets have gotten worse over the years, really, or I should say worse, they've just gotten more mediocre. They're not bad on some days, and on other days they're horrible.
Well, one of the problems that I have here with this whole Jets game tonight, Jay Cutler, all right, nice quarterback, but all I've heard since really the start of the season is this big quarterback gauntlet that the Jets are going to be going through, and it's in fact it's in today's Post. I don't know about the Daily News, but Matthew Stafford from the Lions and Peyton Manning and Phillip Rivers and Tom Brady, and I'm sorry, but Jay Cutler's not even close to being in that group. So tonight, if the Jets are going to get a win, and tonight would probably be their best chance in terms of, are you playing against a quarterback who can make a difference? Because I don't regard Jay Cutler as any kind of a difference maker.
I think maybe they're going for that angle because weren't the Jets interested in Cutler at one point? I thought they were looking at him at one point.
I think they're probably looking at a lot of guys at one point with Sanchez fading out towards the end there. But I don't know. I mean, I've never really regarded Cutler as anything other than a pretty good quarterback. He's somebody who can make some plays, but he's not going to win a game for you. To me he's like almost like Sanchez was in the way that he's a manager of a game as opposed to a quarterback who's going to lead you down the field and get something done.
Well, that being said, I'm not so sure that Geno Smith is like that either.
No, I don't. Right now, I don't think he is. I don't know if he has the capability.
I think the only big plays that he makes are when he scrambles.
Yeah. No, that I agree with. I think right now. I mean, but you know what? I think that's to put it in a bigger picture. That seems to be what Rex wants. I mean, he's never had a quarterback who is that big play, that big, like bigger than life kind of presence. He's always wanted to have game managers. Now, whether or not he actually does want a quarterback like that is another story. But so far, since he's been the coach of the Jets, he hasn't had anybody like that. And he seems to be fine with it because he's obviously had success with the first couple of years with Sanchez.
But hasn't really been his choice. I mean, he's not necessarily doing the drafting, So he
has input with the drafting for sure.
He's got to play the hand that he's dealt to a certain extent.
But in terms of, I would think that he had a decent amount of input when Sanchez was drafted because that's the guy that they hitched their wagon to.
Yeah, absolutely.
So. And
he was good for the first two seasons. If he continued to play like that, we'd still have Mark Sanchez as our quarterback.
But again, he was a game manager. He was a guy who would complete like 18 to 30.
He didn't progress with the team,
and for like 180 yards. And those are decent stats as long as you don't throw a bunch of interceptions. But what that tells me is that all they're doing
West Coast offense. He should be playing for the Giants.
But it's not even West Coast offense. It's a lot of dink and dunk. It's a lot of throwing the pass to a tight end, throwing to a running back out of the backfield. It's not going over the top for 30 yards to a guy. That's what those stats tell me. And I don't know how many 300-yard games Sanchez had. I would guess it was probably 3 at the most, but. But part of that is also if a quarterback is behind, he's going to have to throw those balls. So, you want a guy who can make those throws, but is not forced to make them because they're down 20 points. So, I don't know. I mean, I was never overly impressed with Sanchez, especially from a long game. But that being said, the Jets never really took the reins off, and they haven't done it with Geno either. I mean, I'm sure Geno would like to go downfield and be more aggressive, but. Do they have the receivers for that kind of game? And I don't think they do.
Sure, that's a good point.
Well, right now, if the Jets win tonight, which I think they're going to, they become 2-1, and NFL Eastern Division is it's all 2-1 so far, except for the Fish.
Look, I think the Jets have a good enough team to hang around and make things interesting.
Yeah.
They could make the playoffs, barely, but I don't see them they're not going to win. First week of the playoffs, they're out if they make it.
Probably. I'm pretty much in agreement with you on that. I mean, I think the big game that's coming up is going to be the Patriots, and let's see what they do against the Patriots.
Yeah, that's always the measuring stick.
Because exactly. That's the measuring stick. Whether or not Buffalo keeps doing what they're doing. I mean, they lost their first game to San Diego. San Diego's obviously a good team, like you were saying before, Neil, about I mean, that's a team that's going to be reckoned with in the AFC. Mm-hmm. Whether or not I mean, it is a tough stretch that the Jets have. But I don't think it's just because of the quarterbacks that they're facing. They're facing good teams. So
right. Well, this is the test for Geno now. He's got to, put his stamp on the quarterback position. Yeah. Everybody's sitting around waiting to see when Michael Vick is going to take over. Well, we're going to see now. This is the test for him.
Yeah.
So
I don't think Geno's done anything bad, but at the same time, like you said, I think he needs to elevate his game and really kind of take control of things and say, all right, this is my team. I'm going to lead these guys. and I'm going to make sure we get things done. And whether that's throwing the ball, running the ball, I don't care. But as long as Geno is the guy getting things done and making
the
a
right
difference.
Play, or like you said, you take a busted play. So that's why I say I think he's at his best when he's got to run the ball because he's taking a busted play and making something out of it.
Right.
So I'll give him that because he shows a cool head when something like that happens.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't seen enough of him as a throwing quarterback that impresses me.
That I agree with, and that's something.